Hey, another WoW hate video. I get it, okay? But we need to list the things that are wrong with BFA for Blizzard to fix them. And there's still a lot of things wrong with it. So, this is top 11 things I hate about BFA right now. Now, starting off at number 11, we have Bear Tartar. Now, they removed Bear Tartars before BFA came out, but I still believe that it was because of BFA that it got removed. Now, if you don't know what this is, it was a food buff that after killing an enemy, it would give you a sprint. And it was amazing for leveling, doing transmog runs, and honestly, as playing a class like Death Knight, where you don't really have a lot of mobility. I never actually did any transmog runs with my DK before this came out. Like I always had shit transmogs on him. But after this came out, I was like all the time. And not only my DK, I was doing old content all the time because it was so much faster. And for some reason, in the pre-patch, they decided to nerf it. And it made no sense. Everybody complained about it, but they kept on going with it. And the obvious that we were thinking at the time is they're gonna replace it in BFA. And they did in patch 9.1.5. So it wasn't at the beginning of BFA, it was months after the release before we got a replacement for this. And it's a shitty replacement, by the way. It takes a lot more resources to make, and it's a lot shittier. Now let's talk about leveling, because leveling in BFA is pointless. I don't understand why they even included it. In previous expansions, even in Draenor, which is the most hated expansion in everybody's books, we still got something from leveling. You got your garrison, you did level up, you got talent points. What happened in BFA? In Legion you got your artifact weapons for all your different specializations. You got to level those artifact weapons. It still felt like we were progressing whilst leveling. But in BFA, nothing happens. You get your Heart of Azeroth before you start leveling. And you get some Azerite gear. What the fuck? Who cares, right? Not to mention that in Legion you got to pick from 5 zones where you wanted to start. In BFA you only get 3. I honestly only leveled 2 characters in BFA. Usually I would have around 5 to 6 leveled up at this point. But in BFA I just can't do it. I can't level a 3rd Horde character. And I'm busting my balls to level my Death Knight from the Alliance character, right? It's become absolutely pointless, and honestly, it's really, really bad for the game as well. There's 120 levels. If a new player joins and sees that they have to go through 120 levels of this garbage ass leveling system we have, where you don't gain anything from leveling up, they're not gonna do it. They're gonna try the game out. You're gonna see like I've played for 20 levels. I don't have any skill points, no talent points. I'm done. I'm gonna be out of this. If I was a new player right now and I started leveling in WoW, I would not be playing the game. Now, War Mode is a weird one to talk about. It was great in the beginning, right? You get to use your PvP talents while leveling, and it phased everybody off who wanted to do World PvP, and the scrubs who wanted to do PvE. But right now, at this very moment, it's just a pain in the ass to deal with. So this is something everybody had to deal with, right? I was forming a group, right? It was Wayncrest Manor at +6. I was in the zone doing world quests, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the Summoning Stone and wait for people to come, right? And in my group, there was one guy with more War Mode on, and then the other guys who had it off. Now I was waiting at the Summoning Stone, and I typed, hey, someone needs to come here, help me summon. And obviously, who decides to show up? The guy with War Mode off. And this is a common occurrence. And it's a thing that can get fixed like that. Like it's not hard to fix. Just make it so the mode changes based on the majority of your party. If you have 3 people with war mode on, switch everybody else to have war mode on as well, just for the duration of the dungeon, and you can switch it back when they leave the group. It's not that hard. Now another thing is that they didn't do enough with it, right? They put this mode in, everybody believed it would be great, it would be amazing, it would be, the second coming of world PvP in WoW. It didn't happen like that. And that's because Blizzard didn't go far enough with it. There's nothing that this does. This rewards you 10% more XP when leveling and 10% more resources from world quests. That's it. They could have gone insane with this. Like, I'm gonna bring up ESO because ESO also has something similar like this. And the way they handle it is they introduced quests to it. That's all they did. And Blizzard can do the same. And the quest can be easy, right? It can be simple. Go for the alliance, for example. You can have a quest that asks you to go kill 20 orcs, right? And the same thing for the horde. Go kill 20 night elves, or hey, kill 10 demon hunters, kill 10 rogues of the enemy faction. Something simple like that. And another thing, go capture a outpost, for example, right? You get a quest to go capture an outpost, you have 2 hours to do it, and at the same time, the horde, if you're alliance, the horde gets a quest to defend the outpost that you are being sent to, and that creates more PvP. Right now, we don't have anything like this, and it's so bad because the system can work, they just need to do more with it. Now, the next thing happened recently, right? And that is the portal room. Now, this wouldn't have been a problem, but they removed the portals from Dalaran. And again, just like Bertatars, this makes no sense. Why would they do this? Right? For us players, I mean. For them, it makes perfect sense. It makes people play for longer because it takes longer to get to the raids that you were farming for transmogs. So as a company, for them, they're like, hey, we're gonna increase the time you spend inside our game, but for us, it sucks because we don't have any alternatives right now. It's Ogrimmar, the portal room, and that's it. There's no longer people going to Dalaran for it, which was stupid because it was easy. We had a Hearthstone that was on lower cooldown that we could use to go back to Dalaran whenever we were finished with our transmog runs. Now we don't have that. And people have been complaining since they decided to make this change, and obviously they went through with it. It feels like Blizzard really is not listening to us anymore. Now they can fix this. Don't get me wrong. This is a simple fix to the portal room. Just add more portals into it and make the portals better. Right now the portals suck. World quests are back, and boy oh boy do they suck ass. I mean seriously, what happened there? Um, I actually enjoyed WordPress back in Legion for a while, until the add-on came out, and you know which add-on I'm talking about, right? The one where you just click the button and it would find you a group. And Blizzard needs to start banning add-ons, just automatically disabling them, because this fucking add-on removes any semblance of community. You don't need to form a group to go and do world quests. You just click a button and that's it. You get put into a group, you finish your world quest, and that's it. It's passive. There's no human interaction there. Another thing, they are not challenging. Like, I mean seriously, you get asked to go kill a elite mob and you just kill it in 2 seconds. There's no challenge to it. The same can be said about world bosses. Honestly, what's the point of having world bosses at this point? There's just loot pinatas. You go, you kill it in one shot. It doesn't take any skill to kill a world boss. You just go to it, you hit it, in 2 minutes or less, it's dead, and you get your loot. It's not rewarding. It gives you the loot, but I don't feel like I accomplished anything. I feel like I've wasted my time. I do not feel rewarded from doing world quests. And honestly, the fix to this, again, easy fixes, make them more challenging. Make world bosses actually wipe raid groups. Yeah, make them hard. It's not a problem. Blizzard, we're not afraid of hard content. It needs to be inside the game. Right now, there's no challenge to get decent gear. You don't need to be good to have decent gear in the game right now. Now let's get to one of the biggest failures Blizzard made this expansion, and those two failures are Arathi and Darkshore. They are so pointless, honestly. Arathi was just a catch-up zone. They introduced a catch-up mechanic in the game whilst the first tier of raiding just started. What the fuck was what were they thinking? There's no reason for this to exist so early on. Both Arati and Darkshore are pointless. They're just there for people to just form a raid group, go and kill every elite mob in there, and then just be done with it. BFA was sold to us as the new world, right? Alliance versus Horde. It's gonna be like the old days. We're gonna fight each other. And what happened? We go to Darkshore, there's no lines. I have war mode on all the time. There's no lines there. I have yet to experience any world PvP in these two zones. The only thing that happens is you go, you look for a group that is farming elite mobs, you run with the group around, killing everything in sight, and that's it. Oh, and I forgot to mention there's also world bosses. Again, stupid. You wanted these zones to mean something to us. Again, just use war mode for that. People who don't want to use war mode, fuck them. You know, it's a PvP thing. That's what you sold us on with this to it. It's even lore wise, it has to do with PvP. So fucking use the world mode, the war mode in this. It makes no sense not to. Right now, these zones are pointless. Now, the biggest disappointment that I faced while playing BFA were islands. Now, islands, I honestly believed they would be cool. When I first heard the concept about it, you and a small group of friends go inside and you get to compete against the alliance to farm this resource. I believe it would be cool. I honestly I did not know it would be a PvE thing. I I believed it would be only PvP because I was like, what are they gonna do for the PvE of this place if there's gonna be no lines? And what they did sucks ass. They put in these NPCs and people say they are good. Like I heard from people say, oh, the AI is so good, and I have no idea what people are talking about. How the fuck would you get killed by this AI, by the Alliance AI? Is beyond me. The only way I can picture it is if you're already low health from fighting enemies on the island and they just surprise attack you. Otherwise, there's no way for you to get wiped by them. If you do get wiped by them, then it's not the AI that's good, guys. It's you that's bad. Get better at the game. The end. And the islands are so pointless right now. They only reward you with mounts, which if you're a mount collector, hey, good on you. Have fun running the same island 200 times to get one fucking mount out of it. The other reason is Azerite grinding. Like, what's the point of even having Azerite grinding in the game right now? You don't get anything from leveling your Heart of Azeroth. You just get stats. It's passive. Everything is passive this expansion. Everything you get, you don't actually see. Now, Warfronts, I was deceived by Blizzard. I honestly believed this would be a PvP thing again until I saw the beta footage of it, and that completely blew me away. I was like, there's no way they're gonna do this. There's no way the player base will let them get away with bringing this shit out. And again, I was wrong. We don't want this. Blizzard, fucking Warfronts reward you with 340 gear. Like, think about that for a second. 340 item level gear, that's the same as a mythic dungeon. What's the point of doing mythic dungeons then? The reason people don't have no idea how to play the game is because of Blizzard themselves. They just give loot away, and there's no incentive for players to actually get better at the game. Why the fuck would you bother going through heroic and then moving up to mythic if you can just run a warfront that you're guaranteed to win because there's no lose in warfronts? I have never lost a warfront, and I had games with over half the fucking raid being AFK, and we still won. And you get 340 gear most of the times. It can also Titan Forge, and you can get up to 370 gear. That's heroic old gear. What the fuck? There's literally no reason to give players that do warfronts gear like that. No reason whatsoever. Warfronts honestly ruined the progression that you created in the beginning of the game, because the first 3 weeks of BFA were great. I was enjoying myself up until they released Warfronts, which just made the progression that you were doing. The progression was natural, right? You would ding 120, you would do some world quests, you would do heroic dungeons, and then you would move up to doing mythic dungeons. And that's it. That's all that happened. That was the one path you could take. The other one was PvP. There was nothing else you could do. When Warfronts were introduced, there was no point to doing Mythic plus zeros because they were not rewarding enough, right? You could go through a Mythic plus zero dungeon and not get any loot. You were always guaranteed a piece of loot while doing Warfronts, not to mention the quest that would give you a 370 that could also Titan Forge into a higher item level. You could get mythic eye level gear pieces from just doing Warfronts. That's absolutely idiotic. I was undecisive whether or not to put this on the list, but it had to be, at least as a mention, right? I still give it its own spot because it was one of the biggest failures of the expansion, and that is Azerite gear. Now, I'm not gonna go into it. Honestly, guys, if you want to see what the problem was with it, we all know what the problem was with it. We were basically farming for the same gear, and we would have been farming for the same gear the whole expansion, right? That's the reason. Luckily for us, they're removing it. I don't want to keep talking to it, but it deserved its own place on the list because it was that bad. If you want to know how bad it was, go watch someone else. Go watch Preach. Go watch Asmongold. They both talked about it in detail, and you're gonna get a lot more out of them than out of me. Now, personal loot, I have no problem with it existing, right? I understand why some people would prefer it. However, why the fuck do we not just get the option to choose? Right? Why don't you get to choose between personal loot and master loot? It is beyond stupid to force it onto people. It makes raiding so much worse, guys. You have no idea what this stupid fucking mechanic created for people. Let's say if you're a trial, right? Like the whole drama that happened uh, recently with the trial that didn't want to trade his gear, right? The only reason that became a problem is because of personal gear. Now, I don't care if you agree with the guy or you disagree with him, that's beyond the point. Blizzard have created the situation where that if we had master loot, that would never have happened. But with personal loot, it always happens, and it always will. You always will have people who, hey, this is my piece of gear, it's in my inventory, I got it, I don't want to trade it. And I understand those players. And I agree. If I would be a trial right now and gotten a mount or a piece of gear and was mine and someone asked me to trade it, I wouldn't want to do it either. And it's stupid that we even have to think about it and talk about it, but it's true. We needed the option to use either master loot or personal loot. And why don't we have it? It's so easy for you, Blizzard, to just put it back in the game. We had this. Number one is the reason I quit the game. I'm gonna be honest with you. I quit during old year and I came back now because Crucible is coming out and my friends are getting excited over it. But I do not see, as long as this exists, I do not see myself playing the game. I don't care what your argument is. I don't care how smart you think you are with your argument. I don't give a fuck how good you are at the game. Titan forging is never gonna be a good thing, a healthy thing to the game. Let me tell you what happened and the reason why I quit. It was a normal day of raiding, right? We're doing old year normal mode. We progressed to heroic. We did half of it, and our guild was getting tired. It was Friday night. People were done raiding for the night. Normal things, right? I got 2 pieces of gear out of it. I was happy. Great night. Everything went smoothly. And one of my friends was like, "Hey, I still haven't done my Warfront quests. Anybody else?" And I have not done mine because I honestly, it's so tedious to do Warfronts, and I had not done mine. And I believe 2 other guildies joined us. We went in. We did it in like 10 minutes. We're done. We were out of there. And I swear to fucking God that the piece I got from the Warfront Titanforge, it replaced the boots that I got from Old Year. And I was like, okay, that happens. I wasn't that mad. And then the same thing happened with the quest reward. Now think about that for a second. Old Year Heroic and normal mode took us like 3 hours to do both. And as I said, we only did half of heroic, right? Warfront took me 12 to 15 minutes. It made me feel like absolute trash. Not because I was bad at the game, it just made me feel like I wasted my time. Why the fuck did I raid for 3 hours when I could have done like 15 fucking Warfronts and gotten gear each time? And I could have gotten gear that was better than what people get from the raid. And I know people want to be positive right now because of the new raid, the new trinkets and items that they added, and how they're interesting and shit. Listen, guys, it's gonna be the same thing. The same thing's gonna happen to you. You're gonna go in the Crucible, you're gonna get a trinket, and then the same time you get your trinket, you're gonna see someone else in the raid get the same trinket, but there's Titanforge, and they have a gem slot. And you did the same content. That's the problem. We did the same content, but somehow this guy next to me, he got the same gear, but his is better. It makes zero sense. There's no reason for this system to exist. Why does it exist, Blizzard? We don't fucking like it. It's not healthy for the game, and it never will be. Get rid of fucking Titan forging. It is not fun. Now this has been my list. Leave a comment about what you believe is the worst thing about BFA. And I know there's a lot more things, but these were the main ones that I disliked. And if Blizzard decided to change, it would make the game a lot better. I'll see you guys in the next one.